first, like, 2 weeks I was there in the building, my ankles were cuffed, my hands were cuffed behind my back, and I had a chain around my neck. I couldn't really even move the first week or so I was there.
What did Todd do while you were there?
We would get there between 1 and 3 o'clock every day, take me up to the main building, beat me, make me do whatever he wanted sexually, and then he'd put me back in the building. And then he would always come back between 5 and 7, take me back up to the building, beat me again. Most of the time, do whatever, get whatever out of me he wanted sexually again. And I refused to do anything that he wanted. If I said no, he didn't force himself on me because he said he didn't believe in rape, but he made it very well known why I was there, and if I wasn't useful, that I wouldn't need to be kept any longer, and that he would shoot me.
Did he ever tell you how many people he's killed out there?
Story-wise, he told me about 4. He also told me that he walked into, a few years back, that he walked into a bike shop at Anderson and shot 4 people and left, and they never found out who did it. He liked to brag that he was a serial killer and a mass murderer. He said he was going to kill more people because he had dreams of his body count being in 3 digits. He said right now it was still high 2 digits. He said if I was a good girl, he'd teach me how to kill and I could be his partner. He said he used to kill people for the government. He said he was a military contractor, and that when he got home, he just couldn't keep from seeing the bad in everybody. He said he liked killing drug dealers and stuff, but that for some reason he just wanted me, and that Charlie was just had to go so he'd know I was serious.
There we go. Now I'm good. We're just sitting back here chilling. Bobby, Trill, and myself just sitting back here chilling, talking, laughing, and boy, the show hasn't started out very well though. But we are going to talk. We are going to talk about old Todd Kohlhepp. Which is you've seen in the beginning there the little video, Kayla Brown, who was retrieved from a Connex container, and as we get into the story and you hear about the torture she went through for how long was that? Wasn't it like 60 some days?
65 days.
Is that what it was? 65 days. So we're talking a little over 2 months living out of this Connex container. Hello, Tanya. Tanya has joined us.
Hello.
Kelly has joined us.
Hello.
So that in itself is, I mean, you've seen her demeanor, and this was, right after. Yeah. She was, taken out of this thing. But Todd Kohlhepp is our topic of discussion. This guy. His little rap sheet pretty much starts, and his killings. His rap sheet, I think, started as early as 14 years old. Or no, how old was he? The girl was 14. This was in 86.
Was he 19 or something at the time?
He was a few years older. Young girl, Christy Granado. He had kind of a crush on her. She did not feel the same way.
No way.
I know. This guy is, such a fine, outstanding young man. And this is, from what we know about him, he had a lot of fucking anger issues.
Yeah, a few of them.
Growing up, I mean, as a kid, man, he, get a dry bum, You know, but this is a running joke. We have no idea where this came from, but our theory is that Culpepper, uh, uh,
Oh, that
Kohlhepp
guy.
started going on these rages and becoming the shitbag that he is, because of a medical condition that causes his anus to be dry.
Yeah, when it gets dry, he gets very
He goes
temperamental.
into a rage,
Yeah.
right? This is a running joke. This is not true, but it is something that we have no idea where the origin of this joke came from, but it came
Oh.
about yesterday. Anyway, Christy Granado, he lured her into into the woods, and then raped her.
Yes.
Sexual assault, but he was kind enough
Yeah.
to walk her back home.
Real gentleman.
Very gentlemanlike. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one thing to, rape them and just leave them in the woods.
All right.
That's ghetto.
Yeah. it
You
is.
you don't want to do it like that. You want to at least walk them home, show them that chivalry is alive and
Yeah.
well. And he was arrested for that.
Yeah.
It didn't take long for them because she went back and, of course, told her parents, "Hey, this just happened."
Yeah.
And he did how long for that? 10 years?
Was it 10 or 15 years?
10, 15 years
Something like
he
that.
spent in the big house.
Yeah.
And this is a person, all right, that is said to be a pretty smart guy.
Yeah. Decently smart.
Yeah, I'd say he had an IQ of 118.
Yeah.
That's, I think, like 88 percentile. So he's not a dumb guy.
Yeah.
I mean, by no stretch. But then he is.
Yeah.
So he gets out, we'll say 10 years. Okay, conservatively, we'll say 10 years that he does. That means he gets out somewhere in 96, the end of 96, maybe beginning of 97. 6 years after he gets out, he has a little run-in November 6, 2003 with a motorbike place. Now, this is a guy who lives on his possessions and his things. He always liked to brag about that.
Yeah.
I got stuff.
He does. He did have stuff.
I got stuff all over the
Stuff.
place. I got this. I got Mercedes. I got, 95 acres in the middle of fucking nowhere. My own little killing field.
Yeah. A bunch of motorcycles.
And just
Random
all
stuff.
kind. So he was a very spendthrift. He liked to flaunt his wealth around and
Yeah.
his stuff. And so he goes to this place called Superbike Motorsports. And this is in South Carolina. I did not mention that, but this is in South Carolina. And he makes a few trips in there, I think he buys a bike. He didn't like it. Or no, it got stolen. He said it got stolen outside of his complex. So he goes back and he claims that, oh man, they were making some wisecracks about this or that, or about it being stolen.
Yeah.
It even said like his inexperience, So he gets does he actually purchase another bike?
I think he did, and he purchased another bike from the same place, but I guess the bike was a bit too advanced for him. He wasn't a very good rider, and this is the kind of bike that a very advanced person would ride,
Right.
and probably somebody who was a bit lighter than him too. I think there was probably some jokes about that, his size, compared to the bike and stuff.
That's what I would think, man, that they would, probably mess with him. Good afternoon, Mr. Nanners. He says, dude. Yeah, I mean, because he is a big guy.
Yeah.
And because I think he even mentioned that he wanted a smaller bike. Maybe, and I'm thinking, a smaller bike? I mean, you're a big dude. You think you'd have a big, I don't know much about bikes, but a big old hog or a Harley or something. This guy's looking at like crotch rockets.
Yeah,
and, So he hears these, what he perceives as, some snide remarks. And he kind of stuffs it down. Um, he goes back, of course, probably festering on it. This seemed to be his personality.
Yeah.
He'd hold it up, and then he would deal with these things in a very aggressive way, even as a small child.
Right.
They said he got out of it, and then it kind of resurfaced again, like in his teen years, which is right around the time where he took the girl out to the woods.
Yeah.
So anyway, he comes back to this motorsports thing. He doesn't come alone. He has his little buddy. He's got was it a 9?
Uh-huh.
What was he packing that
I'm pretty
day?
sure it was.
And had like
here.
30 or 10 magazines.
Yeah.
10 round magazines. He was planning on doing a little damage, but he was considerate enough to wait for paying customers to leave.
Yeah.
He'd go around, sit on different bikes like he normally would. They knew him there.
Yeah.
This is a small town in South Carolina. So it's literally probably one of those. It reminds me of some horror films that I've seen, just these desolate little stores
Middle of
here,
nowhere.
little there. I've seen movies that start out this way.
Right.
He goes in there with a fucking mission, dude.
Yeah.
She
This
tells
fucker
us.
holds a grudge.
Yeah. Why don't you walk us through this? I need to take a drink.
Oh, hell. Well, he goes in and after everybody, the paying customers left, because that, he is a true gentleman after all.
He did walk that girl
He
home.
did. I mean, you got to, credit where it's due.
Sure.
A big teddy bear, really. He goes in, and the first person that he comes across, is the mechanic. And I can't remember his name. It's been a while.
Was it Sherbert? Was Sherbert the mechanic?
I don't know if he was or if
well, let me go.
It's been a minute.
Let me go here. Let's see the victims. The owner, Scott Ponder, 30 years old, service manager, Brian Lucas, 29, mechanic, Chris Sherbert, 26, and the bookkeeper, Beverly Guy, who was 52, who was also Scott Ponder's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the victims there. So, he came up on Chris Sherbert first. He didn't even see it coming.
No, I shot him twice really quick. He fell, and when he fell, and other people in the shop heard what was going on, or they heard the noises, and all of them ran to see what the noises were, and he was laying wait on them, and he killed them. The woman,
Beverly. I think he got her first, and then in his interrogation said, "Well, I didn't really even mean to or want to, hit her." Yeah. But he did. He popped her. She dropped the other two. Apparently, took off.
Yeah.
He fired, I think, like 2 or 3 shots. Hit the one guy in the back. He dropped in a doorway. He reloaded real quick.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the interrogation of this, and I would suggest you do, if you want to see a narcissist.
Oh, no doubt about
it. Just full-fledged.
Yeah.
You look that up in the dictionary, probably show a picture of old Todd Kohlhepp, because he brags about how he cleared the room, cleared this whole store, 4 people in under 30 seconds, and even told the cops, "You guys be proud of me."
Yeah.
Has no idea. It seems like it's completely escaped his mind of what he's fucking facing here.
Right.
It was just quite disturbing, but and then he reloads, pops the other guy in the back. He kind of falls outside as he's trying to run out.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to take off.
He does. And then nobody knows who did that for 13 years, isn't it?
12 years. Yeah. It wasn't until it could have been. Yeah, it would have been 13 years, because it would have been 2016 when Kayla Brown enters the story. But December 19, 2015, he runs into a Johnny Joe Coxey. And these two, it was actually Johnny Joe Coxey and Megan Lee McCraw Coxey. And they were both said to be, it was a husband and wife, and they were said to be, either coming off of drugs. I think it was heroin. It was some kind of hard drugs. They discovered, when they went and searched, they discovered bodies there. That was following his arrest on or about, November 6th, 7th of his arrest. After, I should say, they were later identified as husband and wife, Johnny Joe Coxey, 29, and Megan Coxey, 26. They went missing on December 22nd, 2015. They were allegedly hired by Kohlhepp to work on his property. McCraw Coxey, she been killed by a gunshot wound to the head on or about, the 25th or the 26th. Merry Christmas, click clack.
Yeah.
I mean, while Coxey had been killed a week earlier by gunshot wound to the torso. So he shot the dude first, which, as you'll hear, kind of was his his thing. If it was a couple, he'd get rid of the guy and then have his way with the girl.
Yeah, it sounded a lot like John Wayne Gacy, other than the victims, but Gacy would go around and he would hire people from the neighborhood, and then they would come to his house eventually. Well, this guy was doing the same kind of thing. He would offer to, hire people to come clear brush from his, from his farm or whatever.
Because he was, like we say so many times with these, fucking psychopaths, is that they were they were respected in the community.
Yeah.
He was a very well-off dude, even though he got his real estate licenses, not in a very honest way. I don't remember how that went down or what the deal was with that. Do you remember offhand?
I know that it was because he had the previous felony and he had spent all that time in prison. He had lied about it, and they found out about it and just didn't kind of care anyway after it was all found out.
Okay.
Kind of deal.
So, and he was a, successful realtor, had his own business, and, pretty well to do. So he was respected in the community. Nice big house, a lot of property. Again, not the type of person that you would associate with somebody who would do the things that they do. And you're right. Just like Gacy would lure him in, these, degenerates, for lack of a better term, drug addicts just trying to make some money. There's numerous stories of that happening. Well, the Croxies are gone. And it wasn't long after that he ran into Kayla Brown and Charles David Carver. And Kayla Brown was who everybody's seen in the beginning.
Yes.
On August 31st, 2016, Kayla Brown, at 30, and boyfriend Charles David Carter, 32, went missing after they went to remove brush from one of Kohlhepp's property. Again, they were kind of young lovers, not really. Well, yeah, they're young, early 30s, and they, are going off trying to make a little bit of extra money. And she actually knew him.
Yeah, she had previously met him.
Yeah, because she's like, hey, I know a guy where we can make some money. And it was first her, and then he gave him also some work on the property. Let's see. Interest in the disappearance of Brown and Carver increased as results of posts on Carver's Facebook account following their disappearance, the unusual nature of which prompted speculation, which we're going to get into now, because when what had basically happened that morning is, again, Charles was taken out first out of the two. They go out to meet them, and he has them go out in this very desolate area on his property.
Yeah.
The aerial views, it is completely surrounded by trees,
Yeah.
forest. I mean, you could scream, nobody's going to hear you. You know?
95 acres. That's a lot.
That's a lot of
land.
property. And apparently he was like, okay, hold on. I'll be right back, guys. Goes back, comes out. First thing they notice, he's got a gun in his hand. He pops 3 shots into the chest of Charles and then proceeds to take Kayla to her home for the next 65 days.
Yep.
And that's a Connex storage container. The reason, and it's interesting because it wasn't until when was his arrest? He was named a person of interest November 25th, 2016. Oh, wait a minute. They announced they named him in an unsolved 2003 bank robbery and triple homicide at the local Blue Ridge Savings Bank. It was separate from the Chesney shootings by 6 months. He denied, of course, involvement in the case. I mean, so they had to believe him. I mean,
No, of course. Yeah. Somebody says they didn't do it, then obviously they didn't.
Obviously. But I don't know where I was going.
Well, they found him that day anyway with a bunch of wet naps, and he was in a great mood because he was wet.
They put 2 and 2 together. They figured, well, he's not chafed.
Yeah, he's definitely not dry.
He's not dry. He has a moist bottom. You know,
The chapped ass killer.
the chapped ass killer. Because we have talked numerous times about how these serial killers just have stupid names, and we will make jokes. As I've mentioned before, don't take this as we're trying to disrespect anybody. This guy's a shitbag.
Yeah, he is,
and he deserves to be made fun of and ridiculed and told he's fat and whatever. He deserves that for what he did to Kayla. Now, let's talk a little bit about Kayla and, what she did, because he kept Megan Coxey around for a little bit as well.
Yeah, a week or so or something. Like that,
she was not as
cooperative.
Yeah, I don't know how you would put that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess cooperative is the main thing. And basically, he was giving these girls an ultimatum.
Yeah.
You either do what I want, okay? I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna, get you what you want. I mean, he got them like TVs and VCRs and bought the one girl, Megan. She had to have Little Caesars every day and Dr. Pepper and a pack of Newport Greens.
Yeah. And what's funny is that she could have probably done better for herself. I mean, of course, she didn't know. She wouldn't have known. But from what he said in his interrogation, if you could believe anything he says, who knows? But he was going to let her go. He was actually making plans to take her about 100 miles away and
down
just
to
drop her off.
Tennessee, give her $4,000. And he, in his interrogation, I believe he kind of blamed her for being like bipolar or something or having mood swings. So he was going to basically pay her $4,000 and then drive her to Tennessee. And you go your way, I'll go mine. Here, just go start a new life. Do whatever you need to do. And that didn't go as planned.
Yeah, he said he actually felt a little bit sorry for her, and he was going to do that, but weather didn't hold out. That's all it took for her.
That's all it took was shitty weather. It was snow.
Yep, he didn't want to drive in the
He didn't want to drive in the snow, and that snowstorm, if it was a storm, that snow it sealed her fate. That's what I was looking for. It sealed her fate. Who would have thought that some snow and some icy road conditions would be the nail in the coffin for you?
Yeah, he said in his interrogation that she was actually excited the last few days that she was with him because he had told her, I'm going to let you go in a couple of days. So she was getting excited.
Yeah.
And it turns out
and the snowstorm hit. And
Instead
Of
of
course, you know, when cold weather comes in, it makes the air dry, and we know where I'm going with that one. Tanya says, I would have offered him oral and bit it off.
It's funny that she should say that because during his interrogation, he said that she was so excited her last couple of days that she actually excitedly went down on him.
Yes.
That's
In his words,
in
yeah.
his words.
He was like, you know, she was so excited, I think, and I may be able to get this verbatim. She was so excited, she even sucked my dick.
Yeah.
And she was pretty good.
Yeah.
Even made mention of how well she is at her craft.
And saying that, obviously, we know that people are going to fight for their lives, and yeah, you do that if you have to
Sure.
save your life.
Yeah.
So not degrading the victims.
No, not at all. Not at all.
They didn't have much of a choice, really.
They really didn't. But unfortunately, you know, again, the snow creeped in, and he blamed it on the weather, and he ended up just shooting her.
Yeah.
Kayla Brown played her cards a little different.
Yeah, she was a lot more aggressive, played into his ego and his sexuality and stuff like that.
As a means of survival, and like I mentioned before, I don't know if it's what you would call more Stockholm syndrome or if it was more survival. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
She wasn't falling for her captor. You know, I think that she had a plan that if she had any chance of getting out of there, she had to wait for the opportune moment if that was going to rise.
Yeah.
But she also had to play his game.
Yeah. So 65 days is how long she was in there compared to about a week for the other one.
For the other girl, yeah.
And she was really playing into this stuff. Ordering things, asking him, why don't you order these things for us so that we can do these things in bed
and things like that. Yeah.
Really playing the part in that, I'm sure that kept her alive that whole time. Because he was thinking to himself, man, I got exactly what I wanted. Somebody who doesn't even care that she locked up.
And she even mentioned, I believe, in part of an interview or part of her talking to detectives in the ambulance. I don't know if it was actually in that video I played in the beginning. She even mentioned that he offered, hey, you join me.
Yeah.
Like they were going to be a team, like a Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
You can live the high life off of me.
Yeah.
I wonder if he realized his days were numbered and he was trying to lure her in to cover his tracks, bring her in, because I think he really thought that this Stockholm syndrome, he played his cards on that.
He was starting to believe her that she actually was fond of him.
It actually had the reverse effect.
Yeah. She
honestly,
she was outplaying him. And he did. He asked her, he told her, he said, look, you could start killing with me. I'll teach you how to kill people and things.
Yeah.
And she said in the ambulance, I don't want to kill nobody.
She didn't want to do that. That wasn't her thing. Or was it?
Yeah, it could have been.
Because while we're talking about Kayla, some things that come out about after Kayla was released and, back out in society and hopefully getting the intense therapy that she would have to have. I mean, like 3 to 5 times a week, I would think, was something that she went through. Because she was, before I get ahead of myself, she had a chain around her neck. She had her ankles and her hands were handcuffed. She was, and it was mentioned in the video, she was given, it was between 1 and 3. He'd come down, he'd feed her lunchtime. And that's when, the sexual fantasies would take over. Then she'd go back, she'd be locked up.
Yeah.
And then between 5 and 7, it's same thing. Come up, eat dinner in the main house and the main building, as she called it. And then, he'd have her way with her.
Yep.
And I mean, every day for, 65 days, there's a lot of trauma going on here. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So she gets out, she gets out of that situation, goes on with her life. And all of a sudden, some weird things. She's not the angel. Yes, of course, she is the victim here
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
Todd Kohlhepp
Yeah.
case, but she could also be the victimizer
Yeah.
in some other unrelated incidents. One with an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, and who knows what that'll do to you, you know, being locked up like that, chained up, and then she saw her ex being murdered in front of her and
Yeah.
things. And she's got to live with this for the rest of her life because everybody who ever knows her or recognizes her is going to recognize her for
From the
this thing.
Kohlhepp case. Yeah.
And yeah, she did. She went on to have a boyfriend, another boyfriend eventually, and he wound up supposedly stabbing himself in the chest and committing suicide by stabbing himself in the chest.
Which we have expressed not on the show yet, but you know how
It's weird.
just that's just not a very go-to
It's not normal.
means or
Yeah,
method to, if you want to kill yourself, to stab yourself. And yes, as we mentioned, going back in history, it has been a form.
Yeah.
You know, samurais would
Yeah.
do it and fall on their swords. That
Yeah.
was, you know, something they believed that was honorable to them.
Yeah.
But in our society, this is not a normal means of
No.
trying to kill yourself, especially in the chest.
Yeah.
You know,
Yourself in the
yeah,
chest.
sure, you may want to try and hit the heart.
It's pretty rough to get through that breastplate.
Exactly.
You know, it takes a good shot. You can, but
Sure.
you really have to be coming at yourself pretty hard with that knife.
Yeah.
And she was obviously the whole situation was investigated. The police says she didn't have anything to do with it, as far as they knew. Yeah, that it looked like a suicide to them for whatever reason. And I know the families, his family and stuff, has said, you know, I don't think so. This doesn't add up. It doesn't make.
It was
sense.
completely out of his character. They
Yeah.
say, you know, I mean, that just wasn't his thing.
Yeah. And so that could have been kind of forgotten a little bit, you know, or at least put in the background and go, man, this girl's had a messed up life. But then it wasn't too long after that, she had another boyfriend, and they might still be together this day. I'm not sure, but she was arrested for domestic violence against him.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually the one that was arrested for domestic violence against him for punching him in the face. So, I mean, she does have a bit of a temper, it seems.
And of course, a lot of that probably stemming from the trauma,
Yeah.
you know, that she went through. So it doesn't seem like, to me anyway, that she's really taking care of this, you know, trauma and this issue that, you know, she went through.
You know, and maybe that it has a lot to do with you know, people, you know, who do true crime and stuff too. I've said that a lot, you know, especially with the Delphi stuff. Sometimes we might have to be a little more careful, you know, because it's so easy for us to talk about it and not really think about the people involved. But I remember with the Delphi stuff, there were people accusing the family of the victims and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that could be harsh, but this girl is forever going to be known as the survivor of a serial killer, no matter what she does.
No matter what, yeah.
No matter what.
For lack of a better term, it's her claim to fame.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a, you know, I guess a fucked up way to say it,
So-
but I mean, it's true.
She's never getting away from this.
No, ever.
That has to be rough because everybody knows what happened.
Yeah.
You know, the whole story's out.
Right.
And she shouldn't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed or nothing about, but you know, naturally you're going to be as a human being. It's going to affect you. You could tell somebody, don't let it affect you that way all you want, but it's going to.
So his, you know, I don't think he had any intentions at the young age with the 14-year-old to kill her. That was just, you know, a sexual thing. Yeah. But if he had and had killed Kayla, I mean, been looking at 9 people.
Yeah. And so signs early on, we were talking about how.
Yeah, we watched a little interview with his mom.
Yeah. You
Go
know,
ahead.
How somebody like Edmund Kemper as well, you know, he had killed and shot and killed his grandparents when he was a kid. You know, and this, you know, it kind of shows you later on in life, if you don't correct this behavior somehow, this stuff could stay there for the rest of your life. So the thing that happened with a 14-year-old girl, there was just, in hindsight, you know, looking back on it going, man, we should have known something was wrong, obviously. And, you know, you don't.
And
Just
even
people put on a good act.
they do. Even in the in his younger years, his mom has stated that as a young kid he would deal with being upset by punching and hitting. He would lash out that way.
Yeah.
And then she said, she just wrote it up as being a phase. Sure, a lot of little kids do this.
Yeah.
It's corrected,
Mm-hmm.
as she thought it was with him,
Yeah.
because she said that he seemed to take in and not have those explosive anger episodes until he hit his teen years. Hey, that's that's a good point. Tanya says, in regards to his mother, maybe are you talking? She's talking about Kayla. Maybe she's just as twisted as Todd, and that's how she knew how to manipulate him right back.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Wh-
said that before the show too.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, we did. We talked about that. Because we don't know a whole lot about Kayla before this incident.
Yeah. We don't. She was.
We know a lot after. So if we knew how she was before and she had, issues, in the past with, beating up her boyfriends or being with, guys who tried to stab themselves in the chest before and had these issues before, then you can determine how much is her basic personality structure and how much comes from the trauma.
Right.
Or how much the trauma just ignited her basic personality. But yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, because we were talking about that right before.
Yeah. Sure
so where were we at? What the hell were we
talking about her and her like she was just recently, or not recently, but I think it was in 2019 that she was busted for, I think it was manufacturing methamphetamines.
Meth. So yeah, drugs, which happens a lot with PTSD.
Yeah, and so maybe, and I was thinking about that too. I was narcotics, I did the whole Narcotics Anonymous, the chairperson thing for that too. And of course I went through my own withdrawals. And when you're going through withdrawals from stuff, obviously it does make you very moody and you do get violent with withdrawals.
Yeah.
Especially for the first couple of days. Maybe it's just something like that. And I'm not talking about the guy who got stabbed in the chest, but the one that she was punching. She's got those kind of drug problems, and going through withdrawal sucks.
Yeah.
It could just be something as simple as that.
Yeah, because I'm sure that hell, I mean, the stabbing could have resulted in some kind of meth rage. I mean, don't know when she started doing the whole mess. She just got caught at a certain time, but how long before that, what was she using? My guess is probably quite a bit.
Yeah, I would say so.
This guy and a few points to bring up with Todd and his his mom, before I forget. His mom, I mean, we talk about the signs, and yes, a lot of parents may write it up as it's just a phase.
Mm-hmm.
He'll grow out of it. The older he gets, it's a temper tantrum. Sure, kids will bite. I was a biter when I was a kid. My mom took care of that right away. Some kids, throw temper tantrum. It's just, it's an individual type, how you raise your child. But these problems and issues will arise, and it doesn't necessarily mean the child's going to grow up and be a fucking serial killer.
Right.
But when you start, and this comes from his mom, when you start locking your child in his bedroom because you are scared he is going to hurt his siblings or you.
Yeah.
That's a fucking sign.
Yeah, that's not normal.
No, that's a big neon sign right there for you. And you just exasperated the problem. My question is why wasn't there any kind of, intervention with, therapy at that point? If you are that worried that your child's going to hurt you or some other member of the family, that you lock him in his bedroom door. or in his bedroom. Um,
Yeah.
That's a fucking sign.
It
I
sure
mean,
as
that
hell is.
you can't miss. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't act like you're the sad mother when I believe that you exasperated this a little bit.
Yeah. And she knows it. That's the whole reason that she brought it up anyway
Mm-hmm.
during the interview. She realizes it now, but yeah, you can't let things like that go unchecked.
No,
You know, if you feel that serious about it, like, man, I'm locking you in your room because
right.
I'm scared of you. Yeah, that's a big issue.
That's a big red flag that
Yeah.
she either didn't see or just in the heat of the moment didn't know any other way. She was trying to handle it, herself. And with something that complex, you got to get outside help. You got to get
Yeah.
hospitals involved or therapists involved or something, because there's something going on with this kid.
Yeah.
And how old was she? How old was he when she was locking him in with? I don't
She was
remember.
young, like 10, 11 years old, like young.
Right.
He was afraid for his siblings and things, that he was just being nasty to people. And I mean, sexually nasty too. So he had that stuff going on for a long time. And then when he actually went and did it, and then did rape a 14-year-old girl later on, I mean, that should have been more than a sign. That should have been confirmation of the sign at that point.
Right.
Like, yeah, well, obviously that was a sign.
And there were signs as early as nursery school. He was known to be aggressive towards other children and break their shit. He'd get pissed off and break, their toys. At the age of 9 is when he started undergoing counseling. So he did get counseling at 9. He was described as being explosive and preoccupied with sexual content.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good observation, because that was exactly how he anybody who knew him, in his 20s always said that.
Yeah.
He's just explosive anger, and the sexual content is seen with what he did with Kayla, and I'm sure Megan. Also displayed cruelty to animals. Shot a dog with a BB gun and killed a goldfish using Clorox.
Yeah. He wanted to get a gerbil, and his mom wouldn't give him one because he never took care of his goldfish. That
So
was
he
her
killed the
complaint. So he
goldfish.
killed the goldfish
in hopes that he would get,
yeah,
a fucking gerbil.
Mm-hmm.
His father later said the only emotion his son was capable of was anger and madness.
Yeah. Well, you could tell the guy held a grudge.
Yeah.
You know.
Kohlhepp spent 3.5 months in a Georgia psychiatric hospital as an inpatient because of his inability to get along with other children.
Yeah.
So at a young age, there was that step, eventually in 83, Kohlhepp was sent to live with his biological father because they had split up when he was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And he took his father's surname and began working a number of, those small jobs. His father was a big collector of weapons and loved making explosives. That was his adrenaline rush, and done in a safe way. There's a lot of people that love going to firing ranges and just popping off, a couple clips.
Sure.
It's therapeutic for some people. I'm not as big of a, that big of a gun guy myself. I don't find pleasure in that. But hey, his father did.
Yeah.
He taught him how to, quote, blow things up and make bombs. Despite this, they didn't have the best relationship. That kind of, dwindled away because his dad was a real womanizer and was always out with the ladies, the dames. He expressed numerous times he wanted to go back and live with his mom. And his mom kept making excuses. And then at 15, that's when he ran into Christy Granado, as we mentioned before. So his upbringing was not the best, and, seems like a blueprint for, a serial killer.
Yeah, it turned into it, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he went to live with his dad, I think his dad lived in Arizona. His mom lives in
Yes.
South Carolina.
Very
Yeah.
dry air out
Yeah,
there.
extreme. That's what I was thinking too, man.
Yeah.
Being that dry for that long, no wonder he wanted to go back to where the humidity and moisture were.
Exactly. When you go back to Florida,
Yeah.
you get the more humid weather. You got a lot of storms down there. A lot of moisture in the air helps the bum.
It does. You don't need as many
Wet naps.
Wet naps, or
Don't need the wet
don't have
naps.
to wet down a Kotex or something.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm sure he was known to do that, especially in the dry Arizona sun.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of dust.
And he does have a favorite song.
He does. Hotel California by the Eagles. One thing that we do have to talk about in the last 10, 15 minutes is his absolute dead on reviews of because a lot of these things that he used to keep captive Megan and Kayla, and the things that he would use to torture them or whatnot, he got from Amazon.
Yep.
And even left fucking reviews.
Yeah. And they were legit reviews too.
Legit reviews. I'm gonna see if I can actually pull some up.
It's unbelievable, really.
And some of them, all right, maybe I'm wrong for thinking they're funny, but some of them I can understand why people may not see this as all that big of a deal.
I would have thought it was funny before I knew that he was serious. If it was just something like we wrote, be smartasses, it would be funny.
Right.
But yeah, it strikes me as funny.
Let's see. I thought this was gonna bring it up. Okay, I think I can just read it from here. He got a chainsaw. He says, works excellent. Getting the neighbor to stand still while you chase him with it is hard enough without having an easy to use chainsaw.
Yeah. Stayed up, man. The shovel one was great too.
Yes.
It's silly.
The shovel one, keeping car when you have to hide bodies, and you left the full size shovel at home. Does not come with midget, which would have been nice.
Oh my goodness. He would write knife reviews about how it felt to stab somebody with a knife. And obviously everybody's thinking, man, this guy's just being ate up. But no, he was actually putting it to the test.
He got a stun gun. Seriously trying to find a reason to zap one of my agents for being lazy. It's going to be the new office motivational tool.
Goodness.
He got a master lock that they blowtorched off to get in, to the shipping container. Works great. Also, if someone talks back, go old school on them by putting this in a sock and beating them. They will not appreciate the hardened steel like you will. Works great on shipping, which can only, containers. Let's see.
But he was a real smart ass. After he had killed Charlie and stuff, he got on Charlie's Facebook.
Yes.
And was writing some ridiculous stuff on there, just being a complete smart ass.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a smart ass killer is what his name should be.
Yeah, it's what it should have been. He and he also, with that Facebook thing, also was sharing rewards for finding Charlie and Kayla. He's the reason they're not there, acting as Charlie, posting around Charlie's missing persons, reward information. It's just mind-boggling how much this guy is into his fucking self.
Yeah, for sure. Always putting himself in there somehow. But they didn't solve that motorcycle place killing for 13 years
Yeah.
until he had told Kayla about
Yep.
it, and she told them in the back of the ambulance.
And he also that turned out to
amazing.
be true, but some of the shit that he told Kayla
Yeah.
just seems just, you know,
Yeah, some of
way,
it's-
way out there. He told Kayla that he killed for the government. He was
Yeah.
a paramilitary contractor. He had in the high three, or no, it was the high high 2 digits. So he
Yeah.
was close to 100 people that he's, you know, killed. First I heard, I said, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't believe this. He is just so full of himself, you know,
Yeah.
that he believes the shit that he says, and
He'd want everybody to know. If he had more victims, he'd want them all to be
sure,
known.
and it'd be legit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already getting, you know, you're going to jail for 7 murders. What do you got to fucking lose? Why would you blow something up that isn't, you know, fucking true to make you look worse than you are because you're a narcissist?
Yeah. Unless, and like we was talking about the other day, unless a lot of these people, like even BTK, is being looked into for a couple more murders.
Yeah.
Maybe they hold a couple of them back just in case they ever want to mess with them again. Hey, I got a few more. I can mess with these people again. I can put my name back in the headlines again.
Very true.
It could be. I don't know.
Because a lot of them are very, you know, have that narcissism.
Yeah.
And
this guy definitely does.
This guy definitely does, man. When you if you watch the interrogation, he definitely, it's all that goes through your head. Man,
proud.
This guy loves talking about his fucking stuff, and because it was Megan, I believe, that burnt some shit down. In his container. Yeah, Kelly said in regards to, you know, holding crimes back, keeps them famous and keeps them in the headlines, you know, because that's a lot of times, man, that seems to be, if, you know, not, you know, a small, you know, motivational factor of, I want to be famous. I want everybody to, you know, see me. And this is the only means to get that.
And they can keep dropping hints to other murders and stuff, just hoping somebody picks up on it.
Yeah.
So maybe we should be listening to some of these guys a little bit closer.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, Kelly says BTK is all about that.
Yeah.
And there have been, as we mentioned, it was Henry Lee Lucas, you know, Henry and Otis, or
I've heard it both, Otis and Otis.
Otis,
I've heard both.
I've heard it both, but yeah, Henry Lee Lucas is known for, you know, saying, "Oh yeah, there's like 300-400 fucking, you know, murders I'm responsible for," but he was using the system.
Yeah,
he knew he was already done for.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting out, he was getting smokes, he was getting, you know, what he wanted. He was getting out in nature, and as petty and as weird as that sounds to us, that's a big fucking deal to them.
Yeah.
You know, and it does, like Kelly mentioned, it keeps you in the headlines. It keeps you at the front of their mind. You want people thinking about you and recognizing you.
Right on.
At any cost, you know. So yeah, whole dry anus.
Yeah.
Todd.
It's just all could have been prevented if he would have just been kept in the shade.
Kept in the shade.
With some moist naps.
Yeah.
Wet wipes. You'd have been fine.
Some moist towelettes.
Yeah.
I could really, you know, change the day for somebody. So if you see somebody having a bad day, offer them a moist towelette.
Yeah.
And see if that helps. And if that helps, have another Todd Kohlhepp on your hands.
You could be saving somebody's life that
if somebody's grumpy, ask them if they need a moist towelette. That's going to be our parting.
Yeah, that's the moral to this story.
If there was ever a moral, keep your butt cheeks moist, ladies and gentlemen, and your anus.
Be kind to people and make sure that they're moist as well.
Exactly. With that, happy Wednesday.
Yes, indeed.